Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at rewiring the bed on a Monoprice Select Mini. Okay, hello. First of all, apologies if this video is a wee bit echoey. I've just redecorated in this room and haven't got a chance to put a lot of things in it yet, which will dampen down that echo slightly, I hope. We're going to have a look at the Monoprice Select Mini today. This is a 3D printer that I've been using for a few years now. As you can see, it's in a bit of a state at the moment. It's kind of got a few wires hanging out. It's not got its back panel or its side panel on, and that's because I've been doing a bit of work on modifying it. One of the known issues with this 3D printer is the wiring of the heated bed. The way the wires route inside the printer is just not optimal at all, and lots of damage is caused to the cables, meaning that the bed doesn't function. Now, I have already had a go at rewiring this bed and I'm still having problems with it. So what I'm going to do today is just take you through some of the troubleshooting steps that I'm going to use to confirm that 1, the heat bed actually functions, 2, that the circuit board inside is actually outputting the correct voltage, and 3, to check the continuity of the cables. And then we're going to have a look at actually printing some new pieces to protect this this cable run a wee bit more. Okay, so what we've got set up here to test that the bed is actually functional is I've got a small bench power supply, and I've just hooked that up directly to the heat bed wires that are normally plugged into the motherboard of the Monoprice Select Mini. They use this connector to do that, and I've just popped the cables out the connector just to make sure I've got a good connection with them. And then we're going to use this infrared sensor to take some temperature readings off the bed and see how we get on. So we'll just take a control reading. So at the moment we're sitting at 22.8. So we'll turn the power supply on and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes or so, and as predicted, we're not getting anywhere with this heat bed. And you might be able to notice as well the bed's actually drawing 0 amps. So that's definitely telling me that our problem is somewhere further up the chain than here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this heat bed off, which is just 4 Allen screws in each corner, and then we'll come back and take a look at what we've got. Okay, so we have the heat bed removed from the printer. So as we can see, I've already moved the thermistor from this one in my failed attempt to rewire this bed, and I have a new one that we'll add. This is where I've soldered the wires on the bed, and this might well be where our problem is because it does look pretty nasty. But first thing I want to do is just check continuity in the cable itself. Now, there doesn't look to be any damage to it, but I have seen other people have problems with damage to the cable due to how they've been routed through the printer. And how we're going to do that is use a multimeter here, and I've just got this set on the continuity or resistance setting. So when there's continuity, we get this horrible beep, and we can see that we're getting a very low number there, meaning there's not much resistance at all. So we'll start with the ground cable. Let's just make sure we're getting a good connection with that. Yep, that's very good. And then positive. Okay, so we're getting a good connection, it would appear. Next thing I want to test is just continuity between the two cables themselves, because we should get continuity through this. It would just be quite a high resistance. So let's give that a test. And we're not getting anything at all through that. Okay, so what I've decided the next step here is to break out the soldering iron, and we're going to clean up these connections here, and we're going to I haven't quite decided yet whether we're going to solder on new wire and see if we can kick the heat pad into action like that, or whether I can use crocodile clips to make contact with that just so we know that the solder isn't the problem, or my soldering skills aren't the problem, which might well be the case looking at the state of this. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I have the bed rewired now with some slightly better solder joints. And we'll see how we get on. I've got to hook back up to the power supply. I'll just take a quick temperature reading. So right in the middle there, we're 28.5. It's going to be a little bit warm from the soldering iron and so on. But we'll give it a little while and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so it's been about another 5 minutes and we have actually come down in temperature while the heat bed is cooling down after soldering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off and show you something that I've noticed. See if I can get this close enough to the camera for you to see. So I don't know if you're going to be able to make this out, but right here on the bed it looks like there's been some damage, and there's some sort of splices in there, or some smaller bits of copper that have been added underneath the paint. So that's something that's happened during the manufacturing process. Don't know if you can see that, but just there. Now, what you may or may not be able to see, that on these two tracks here, there's also a little bit of damage. It looks like something has cut through these tracks in a sort of diagonal fashion, and they've repaired these three, but these two here also look like they're damaged, and they haven't been repaired. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is see if I can scrape the paint back on these tracks a little and see if I can get those joined together, see if we can get this working. Okay, so I've gone ahead and scraped the paint back and soldered onto the board here. It's not a very neat job. Unfortunately, the paint starts to kind of burn when you solder. That's why this is kind of gross down here as well. However, now when we test for continuity here across the heater, you can see we're now getting continuity. So it seems like this was my problem, but we'll just verify that by hooking it back up to the power supply and testing it with the temperature sensor. Okay, so straight away here we can see we're drawing a lot more power, almost 2 amps of power getting drawn from this heat bed. We'll just take a quick reading. Okay, so we're getting 29.5 on that at the moment. Just going to kind of... So we'll give it a few minutes and then we'll test it again. Okay, and that is now working. You can see the last reading I got was 32 degrees. I've had to just stop this because this isn't obviously the ideal setup for running a heat bed like this. I can actually still feel that's quite warm to the touch. And I was using quite thin little crocodile cables, and these were starting to get a little bit warm. So I've stopped the test there. You can see the gauge of these wires here are much thicker. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put it all back together, and then we'll turn the printer on and just ensure that the heat bed is working as it should. Okay, so here we go with the printer back together. I haven't leveled the bed or anything like that. I've just chucked it back together for now. We can see we're getting a temperature reading from the bed. I did replace the thermostat, but that's a very easy process. You just stick it on with some Captain tape. So let's go ahead and set a bed temperature. Let's say our target is going to be 60. And then we'll just leave this for a few minutes and come back and see if it's heating up at all. Okay, and I think we can call that a success. You can see that we've hit 62 degrees actually. It will now start to fluctuate to hit that 60. All in all, that probably took about 3 to 4 minutes to heat up to 60 degrees. So now we're going to go ahead and look at how we can improve the cable chain so we don't have any problems with the cable snagging in the future. Okay, so here we are on Thingiverse, and I've been looking around for cable chains, cable holders for the Monoprice Select Mini, and I think I'm going to go with this one. There's a few options out there, most of which involve you doing some modification to the Z-axis as well, which I'm not too keen to do. I want to leave it as stock as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and print this one out. So many thanks to 7717 for designing this and making it available for us all. So let's go ahead and get it printed. Okay, and after a few hours of printing, we have these parts. So let's go ahead and put all of these together and put it on the printer. Okay guys, there we have it, the rewire of the hotbed on a Monoprice Select Mini. I hope you found this video useful or entertaining, and if you have, please do go and hit that subscribe button. Subscriptions mean so much for the channel right now, so if you can, please do go ahead and subscribe. Also consider like and commenting, and thanks for watching.